Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Tunic. We're entering the next major area of the game, the ruined atoll. So, off we go. It's a kind of a beachy area. There's not a lot of space here. There's kind of a mini dungeon and then a boss. So,
Does this game have a day-night cycle, or does the time just flash every time you go to a save point?
sort of. There is a day-night cycle later.
Yeah.
As far as right now goes, it's just day.
The little flash of daylight is just like showing a passage of time, like you're taking a nap by the statue.
Okay.
And that's about it.
All right.
Yeah, that always was what the campfires in Dark Souls were supposed to represent, but
Oh, look at the crab. I love him. This game is very adorable, I do have to say.
crabs are one of nature's funniest creations because they always have to waddle around sideways.
It's also very funny because several different species evolved from something else into crabs. So it's like not all crabs are related to each other. Like many of them are on completely different family trees of the animal kingdom. It's like
It's kind of like birds.
You do find a lot of the more primitive strains of evolution in aquatic life, yeah. Ooh.
everything will become crab eventually.
Crab
I think the thing that
people,
really
crab
interests me
people.
specifically in the crab world are horseshoe crabs, because those are like actually freaking prehistoric.
Yeah.
Peak evolution millions of years ago. How about that?
Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
I mean, it sounds a little wild to say this, but a lot of the most secure parts of Earth's environment were underwater the entire time because they were less prone to climate change over the ages. You know, an area that was once lush turns into a frickin' desert on the root on the surface. Underwater, temperatures change. As long as you don't go so deep or so high that the pressure changes too much, you can just move to a different elevation.
There's also like the geothermal, vents that will like supply a lot of the nutrients or whatnot that you wouldn't necessarily get.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and since there's no light, that's where all the freaky shit on the planet gets to grow, which is
Tube worms.
Yeah. Point is, there's a couple different parts of the planet that are easier to survive as the environment changes. Underwater's one of them. Underground is another.
What do the telescopes do?
They give you a view of the area. That's about it.
Oh, do they like zoom the map out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not the only game that does that sort of thing now that I think about it.
No, Ryan, go back. There's a thing. No.
But I want to go in here first.
Sorry, I'm the worst backseat gamer. It is a habit that I've yet to get myself out of. But
God damn it, I hate enemies with spears in
Backseating
video games.
pre-recorded footage is next level.
I hate enemies with spears in these kind of games because they just poke, and it's so annoying.
yeah, that's why spears are great. It's like, oh, you can't hit me if I'm all the way over here with the biggest stick. You see, I like I told you.
That's why that's all I use in Zelda. Grab a spear, use it until it breaks, and then I find another one.
I don't actually like using spears in the Breath of the Wild games because they hit so fast, yeah, but they also run out of durability really quickly because of it. But
Well, that's how it was in real life too, because a spear is just like a big stick with a pointy thing at the end. So the shafts would break often, and you'd just take the old head and put it onto a new stick.
But like all you can do with the spear is poke. The enemies have this weird swinging animation that they do with the spears, where they just swing it over their head in a circle, and it's so hard to avoid because it's got such a wide arc. But you can never use that attack.
I do wish that you could do that attack, honestly, but I imagine they probably want to keep it to, you know, the other weapon types, because I feel like that would be very close to the great swords spinny that you can do.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, the spear in the second Hyrule Warriors was really fun to play. Like, it had a lot of reach and was also really fast, so you could be like poke, 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 poke. Although the best character in the first Hyrule Warriors, I think, is Volga, who also has a spear, and he can swing forward and get that same sort of like area of coverage, I guess is the way to put it. Because that's one of the big issues with spear weapons in many kinds of games, is like, okay, you reach far, but your hitbox is so skinny that you have to be more precise than you might think otherwise.
Right. I wish I played more of the Breath of the Wild Warriors. I didn't really... I mean, I got into it. I really enjoyed it. I was very impressed by it, but I never really, like, stuck with it for too long.
I ended up being the same way. I played the first Hyrule Warriors to 100%, which took for fucking ever.
I imagine so. I did play more of that, though. I will say I did play more of that.
The first Hyrule Warriors has a really good addiction loop, I will say.
So what I've found is the way that the ways in which Age of Calamity makes the game better makes it less addictive to play. Because like the first Hyrule Warriors is like eating popcorn. You're just like, you can just keep on going and you won't stop. It's like, okay, next mission.
And what I like about it is that, like, the quote unquote addiction loop in Hyrule Warriors isn't the incredibly skeevy addiction loop that tons of modern games these days are using, which I wish they'd stop doing.
Yeah, it's just more that, like, there's just always more stuff. The Age of Calamity opted for like a less obnoxious amount of missions, and it like integrated everything into the story mode. So instead of there being like a story mode and a separate adventure mode, there were like little side areas, and each individual mission was longer. So there's generally more depth in Age of Calamity, but it comes at the kind of like pick up and play, you know, just keep on going, turn your brain off aspect of it.
Yeah. The thing about Age of Calamity and Three Hopes, by extension, because it has the same sort of thing going, is that you kind of have to play them like action RPGs rather than like Dynasty Warriors games. So you need to be in the action RPG mindset to do it.
That's a similar thing with Dragon Quest Heroes as well, where those games they're not really. They're basically just action RPGs with Dynasty Warriors combat.
Yeah. But, you know, I appreciate that we have both formats, because, you know, I don't know if you noticed, but Dynasty Warriors gets a little bit repetitive. Mixing up the structure between one game and the next kind of helps alleviate that a little.
Yeah, and I mean,
it kind of does.
That's part of the reason why, you know, sometimes you just want something you can turn your brain off and play, which was why, you know, Hyrule Warriors having 500,000 adventure maps with 100 missions each, you know, and 4 difficulty levels per one. Like, just having something you could do, like, if you ever needed a break and wanted to just press buttons was nice. And so the way I like to describe it is that the ways in which Age of Calamity is a better game make me want to play it less.
You know what? The way that you're articulating this really kind of makes it click in my brain, because I kind of like had the feeling of like, oh, I played the heck out of the first one, but I liked the second one more, but I really didn't play it as much, and I could never pinpoint why. It's something that I've thought about periodically over the years when I get that little hankering for a Dynasty Warriors type game, but the way that you just articulated it kind of really made it click, and I'm like, you know what, you're right. It's like, for me, I enjoyed the second one more, but I'm less inclined to binge it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that they wanted to kind of give the games more depth, because Dynasty Warriors for a long time was kind of the Call of Duty of beat 'em ups. So like each game kind of felt like just a repetition of the one before it.
Right.
Which, you know, and like there was a new Dynasty Warriors or Samurai Warriors like every year for a long time in the 2010s and before. So I think when they wanted to, especially with the spin-offs with Nintendo, they wanted to
There wasn't just a new Dynasty Warriors every year. There were also, like, secondary editions of every Dynasty Warriors game.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. Oh, that's true.
Yeah. It was an insanely popular series around that time. I guess partly because getting that much enemy density on screen in that particular console generation was really technically impressive.
Even though
Yeah.
the games ran at 5 frames per second. So one of my favorite things about Hyrule Warriors, specifically on the 3DS, is that obviously the enemy count is much lower because you're on the 3DS. However, the game still thinks that enemies are there. So you'll get to the point where you'll clear all the enemies in the room, but you wouldn't have captured the room because more enemies are still like refreshing like their position in the room, if that makes sense. Like they need to spawn in. But the fairy power that you unlock in that they added for the 3DS version, when you do like the fairy blast, it kills everything. So your kill numbers in the 3DS version are generally a lot lower. So instead of, you know, ending a mission with the 1200 or the 1500 that you would on Wii U, you'd normally get like 8 or 9. Until you use the fairy power, and it's just like, oh, you killed 3,000. It's like, excuse me?
Right.
We got the Hookshot.
Yep.
Yep. Sure did.
All is right with the world again.
Dude, why is the Hookshot just such a good item in every game that it's in?
Well, I mean,
It's satisfying.
it's
Movement.
It's a grappling hook, which is automatically satisfying, but this one has a really snappy, whippy quality that I can't say the other hook shots in Zelda had.
Well, so the thing is, the Hookshot's really cool in 3D Zelda, even though, like, it's a very slow item, usually. Like, you have to stop and then point and then go. It's like, honestly, it should be kind of annoying, and it's a miracle that they're as fun to use as they are. Mostly just because, I think it's probably just because vertical mobility is so limited in Zelda that having it is such a rush that even though it's really slow, it's
Twilight
satisfying.
Princess adding the double claw shot was a real boon to the item, because that was just fun.
Yeah.
That was hella fun.
That might be my favorite iteration of the hook shot is in Twilight Princess.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, though, it's just like, Zam, you're just up there, which is really cool.
Twilight Princess also did quite a bit to improve the pace of using the item, though. I think it was just easier to lock onto things and zoom, zoom, zoom.
I think the Wii version probably also helped with that because it's a lot faster to just point the screen at something than it is to use
fair.
the N64 control stick.
I wouldn't know. I only ever played Twilight Princess on GameCube.
I think I played it on Wii U. I think the motion controls worked for the Hookshot.
Oh, well, Wii U as well, but I played that with a controller, so, you know. I think it had gyro.
No, that's what I mean. The gyro aiming, I love the gyro aiming in Zelda. It's like,
Me too.
It's hard for me to explain why I like gyro aiming so much, but the added element of control for it just feels really good. And yeah.
I tried to figure out why a fox statue was the defense item, but then I'm like, oh, you're improving your body, so it's a statue of your body.
Oh!
I was like, the attack item is a fang? Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Foxes bite things. I was like, why is the defense item a stone statue of myself?
It makes your abs rock hard.
Oh, that is nice. You can actually use the hook shot to go up.
Yep.
That's actually, like, you know, a really big improvement on the usual hook shot. Because usually in a 2D Zelda, the hook shot is used purely horizontal.
Yeah.
What games are the hook shots in? Like, it's only in the Oracle games, I think. And
No,
I
it's
think
in a
it was
link. It's in a Link to the Past. It's in a Link Between Worlds.
It's in a Link to the Past. I know it's in a Link Between Worlds, but
I think it was in Link's Awakening. Wasn't there a hook shot in Link's Awakening?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't play the
It's been a
2D
minute.
Zeldas a lot, so I'm not a
Yeah.
huge fan of most
It's
of
like
them. to be
the
honest.
only Zelda game I can think of that that I've played like a lot of that doesn't have a hookshot is Echoes of Wisdom, and that's because you can just fucking spawn a flying platform and jump on it.
Flying tile, my beloved.
Oh yeah, Echoes of Wisdom has, I like to call the Scribblenauts problem, where you have limitless options, but in reality you have 3 options: gun, rope, and Cthulhu. In Echoes of Wisdom, it's flying tile, plat boom, and I usually use a bird to kill things, but I suppose that's more of a personal taste.
Here's an option for you. Okay, summon a bird and hover a piece of meat in front of it with your grabby hands. It'll fly after the meat like a carrot on a stick, and you can just fly like that.
You know what? I never actually thought
never
to
did
use,
that.
I never thought to do that. That is fair. There's probably more you can do in that game than I'm giving credit. I wasn't actually a huge fan of Echoes of Wisdom, all things considered. It was like fine, but I felt it was. I felt that like I felt dissatisfied because so many things could be beaten with the same items over and over. But there might be, if there's more creativity to stuff like that I didn't notice, maybe then it's just my fault. I don't know.
I think Echoes of Wisdom is one of those games where it's like you kind of get out of it what you put into it. So
That makes
it's
sense.
like for people who are more inclined to experiment and play around with your options, then it's probably a bit more appealing.
Yeah.
It's kind of, for me, it kind of pings Tears of the Kingdom in that way for me, because I feel like people who tend to experiment with the building and stuff get a little bit more out of the game than people who are more like point A, point B.
Well, the difference I feel like is that for Tears of the Kingdom, if you don't build an awful lot, it's also just Breath of the Wild again, which is, Breath of the Wild was a good game. So
no, absolutely.
Yeah. But I guess we can discuss that more in part. Oh god, what part are we on? What's the next part? 7 of Tunic. I stole your sign off, Ryan. Ha. I'm not giving it back. It's mine now. Bye.